Hello, this is Shmuel Moshe, and you are listening to the Weekly Parashahcast, a weekly Torah portion podcast where I read the weekly Torah portion and provide my own personal interpretations of the text. This week's weekly Torah portion is Parashat Tetzaveh, falling on the Shabbat of the 15th of Adar Aleph, or Adar 1, 5784, the 24th of February, 2024. I am not a professional Torah scholar. I am just somebody who wished to study Torah, as I like to remind everybody on our weekly basis. With that mindful statement made, we're going to go ahead and jump right on in with Exodus chapter 7, verse 20 for the first portion. For those who want to follow along, you can find the text on Chabad.org. Let's begin. Chapter 27, verse 20 of Exodus. And you shall command the children of Israel, and they shall take to you pure olive oil crushed for lighting, to kindle the lamps continually. In the tent of meeting outside of the dividing curtain that is in front of the testimony, Aaron and his sons shall set it up before the Lord from evening to morning. It shall be an everlasting statute for their generations from the children of Israel. Chapter 28, verse 1. And you bring near to yourself your brother Aaron, and his sons with him, from among the children of Israel to serve me as Kohanim, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Itamar, Aaron's sons. You shall make holy garments for your brother Aaron, for honor and glory. And you shall speak to all the wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, and they shall make Aaron's garments to sanctify him, so that he serve me as a Kohen. And these are the garments that they shall make: a choshen, an ephod, a robe, a tunic of checker work, a cap, and a sash. They shall make holy garments for your brother Aaron and for his sons to serve me as Kohanim. They shall take the gold, the blue, the purple, and crimson wool, and the linen. And they shall make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and crimson wool, and twisted fine linen, the work of a master weaver. It shall have 2 connected shoulder straps at both its ends, and it shall be entirely connected. And its decorative band, which is above it, shall be of the same work, emanating from it, gold, blue, purple, and crimson wool, and twisted fine linen. And you shall take 2 shoham stones, and engrave upon them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone, and the names of the remaining 6 on the second stone, according to their births. Similar to the work of an engraver of gems, similar the engravings of a seal, you shall engrave the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel. You shall make them enclosed in gold settings. And you shall put the 2 stones upon the shoulder straps of the ephod as stones of remembrance for the sons of Israel. And Aaron shall carry their names before the Lord upon his 2 shoulders as a remembrance. All right, so that's the end of the first portion. So this is continuing off of the previous week, and once again, the title in English for this week's Torah portion, right, the Hebrew is Tetzaveh. This means command. And this is all about the continued commandments being given, not the 10 commandments, but the commandments for how worship will be conducted. So last week we were talking about the construction of the holy areas. This week is about the holy men who will be attending to it, this being the family, the seed, the kin of Aaron, Moses' brother. They will be the high priests, called the Kohanim, or the Kohens in English, right? That's going to be the name of the priestly class. And we get a breakdown of the different things that will be made for them as part of their work uniform in the manners of holy works. So we see the same sort of ingredients, the same materials used as were made for the Holy of Holies and things like that, the different categories of what kind of wool, the gold, all the stones, things of that nature, and the entire holy garment that you can expect to see on Aaron and his sons. So it's a very descriptive outline of what that uniform will look like. Also noted is the engraving of the sons of Israel, the names of the 12 sons, right? The 12 tribes, 6 of their names on one stone, and the names of the remaining 6 on the second stone, according to their births. Also, similar to the work of an engraver of gems, right? So it's going to be marked. They're going to make sure it's nice and fitted in a gold setting, and it's going to be put on a sort of on the straps that go on Aaron, so it's going to be kind of like a garment that he wears over his clothes. And also we just have the smaller details. They're going to be wearing what they're going to be wearing. So we have an idea of what their uniform looked like, once again, from sash to cap to all the lovely garments of wool and purple, blue, and crimson linen and so on. The work of a master artisan, once again. This is holy stuff. Moving on to the second portion. Chapter 28, verse 13. You shall make settings of gold, and 2 chains of pure gold. You will make them attached to the edges, after the manner of cables, and you will place the cable chains upon the settings. You shall make a choshen of judgment, the work of a master weaver. You shall make it like the work of ephod, of gold, blue, purple, and crimson wool, and twisted fine linen shall you make it. It shall be square and doubled, its length 1 span, and its width 1 span, and you shall fill it into its stone fillings, 4 rows of stones. 1 row odem, pitdah, and barket, thus shall be the 1 row. The 2nd row, nofech, sapir, and yahalom. The 3rd row, leshem, shevo, and achlama. And the 4th row, tarshish, shoham, and yashpeh. They shall be set in gold in their fillings. And the stones shall be for the names of the sons of Israel, 12 corresponding to their names, similar to the engravings of a seal. Every one according to his name shall they be, for the 12 tribes. You shall make for the choshen chains at the edges of cable work of pure gold. You shall make for the choshen 2 golden rings, and you shall place the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the choshen. And you shall place the 2 golden cables on the 2 rings at the ends of the choshen. And the 2 ends of the 2 cables you shall place upon the 2 settings, and these you shall place upon the shoulder straps of the ephod on its front part. And you shall make 2 golden rings, and you shall place them on the 2 ends of the choshen, on its edge that is toward the inner side of the ephod. And you shall make 2 golden rings, and place them on the 2 shoulder straps of the ephod from below toward its front, adjacent to its seam, above the band of the ephod. And they shall fasten the choshen by its rings to the rings of the ephod with a blue cord, so that it may be upon the band of the ephod, and the choshen will not move off the ephod. Thus shall Aaron carry the names of the sons of Israel in the choshen of judgment over his heart, when he enters the holy, as a remembrance before the Lord at all times. You shall place the Urim and the Tumim in the choshen of judgment, so that they will be over Aaron's heart when he comes before the Lord, and Aaron will carry the judgment of the children of Israel over his heart before the Lord at all times. So once again, more elaboration on the uniform being worn by the Kohanim. We have an even more ornate explanation. I won't go too much into it as far as the specifics. One, because I'll be honest, I don't really know what a choshen is. And also, we have the descriptions of these stones, right? 4 rows of stones. Odem, pitdah, barket, and so on. Most of us know the stones like ruby, sapphire, and so on. And I think sapphire is probably sapphire at least. But the reality is, I don't know what these specific stones are, because they chose to keep the Hebrew words in this case. And I've seen this done before for a number of reasons. It's very important to understand that when we translate to another language, we run the risk of mistranslation, and these very specific commandments being said to use these particular stones cannot be mistranslated, because then if somebody was to take this English and try to recreate it, well, they would then be, unfortunately, not following the word of God. So in cases where the word is not 100% certain what it translates to English, they will use the original language and use that word Romanized into English. So like yahalom. What kind of stone is a yahalom? I don't know. But I'm sure there's a comparison that can be made. The same thing will come up when they're talking about kosher animals later on in the Torah. That's an interesting side note there. But yeah, because we don't know sometimes what exact animal is being referred to, they'll just use the original name so as not to accidentally give people the wrong information. A safe choice, no doubt. Now, once again, just to really quickly go over this once more, all of these details, it's really intricately detailed for the sake of accuracy. We're being given a commission, essentially. Think of this like you're a person whose job is to make clothing. If you've ever made costumes or ever worked in garments, right? Your job is to make a specific outfit tailored to the specifications of the client. And in this case, the client is the Lord above. So it's very specific where the rings will be, how it's going to be connected, what materials are going to be used, all these different things. And with this, Aaron's going to carry the names of the sons of Israel in the choshen of judgment over his heart when he enters the holy as a remembrance before the Lord at all times. So with this, everything that's been described, it's going to be around Aaron to sort of sanctify the 12 tribes, and he is their representative inside of the Holy of Holies. So there we have it. Aaron is going to be carrying the judgment of the children of Israel over his heart before the Lord at all times. Very important role. On to the third portion, chapter 28, verse 31. And you shall make the robe of the ephod completely of blue wool. Its opening at the top shall be turned inward. Its opening shall have a border around it, the work of a weaver. It shall have an opening like the opening of a coat of armor. It shall not be torn. And on its bottom hem you shall make pomegranates of blue, purple, and crimson wool, on its bottom hem all around, and golden bells in their midst all around. A golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate on the bottom hem of the robe all around. And it shall be on Aaron when he performs the service, and its sound shall be heard when he enters the holy before the Lord, and when he leaves, so that he will not die. And you shall make it a showplate of pure gold, and you shall engrave upon it like the engraving of a seal, holy to the Lord. And you shall place it upon a cord of blue wool, and it shall go over the cap, and it shall be opposite the front of the side of the cap. It shall be upon Aaron's forehead, and Aaron shall bear the iniquity of the holy things that the children of Israel sanctify. For all their holy gifts it shall be upon his forehead constantly, to make them favorable before the Lord. You shall make the linen tunic of checker work, and you shall make a linen cap, and you shall make a sash of embroidery work. For Aaron's sons you shall make tunics, and make them sashes, and you shall make them high hats for honor and glory. With these you shall clothe Aaron, your brother, and his sons along with him, and you shall anoint them, and invest them with full authority, and sanctify them, so that they may serve me as Kohanim. And make for them linen pants to cover the flesh of their nakedness. They shall reach from the waist down to the thighs. They shall be worn by Aaron and by his sons when they enter the tent of meeting, or when they approach the altar to serve in the holy, so they will not bear iniquity and die. It shall be a perpetual statute for him and for his descendants after him. So some critical things here. We have some more details now. Things like the pomegranate. That's awfully specific, and honestly, I don't know what the significance of the pomegranate is here, but I will note the bell. It talks about having golden bells all around. Specifically, it shall be on Aaron when he performs the service, and its sound shall be heard when he enters and when he leaves, so that he will not die. Right, so what's the significance of that? Well, I think this is very interesting, and we can use this in a context similar to what we do in real life, right, in our modern day. You ever go to a store that has one of those bells that rings when you open the door, or a little ping pong, or whatever it may be, right? There's an alert that lets the shopkeeper know, hey, there's a customer. So in the case of the Lord, that's the same situation. By wearing this bell, Aaron will alert anybody who's inside, especially a divine holy being whose very visage can be lethal to gaze upon, that, oh, Aaron's coming in. Let's make it so that he is safe. Let's make it so that nothing will harm him. Now, of course, one might ask the question, well, why would that need to happen? Isn't God all-knowing and all-powerful? Why would God need an alert like that? It's more about respect. I think that's the general idea. It's how you announce that you're here, right? The bell is an indication that I have arrived. It's just a respectful thing to do. And so that, let's say Aaron is coming in, he's so used to doing this every day, he comes in without saying, Lord, I'm here. Well, suddenly he's accidentally committed a very heinous act by failing to acknowledge that hello, my Lord, I have entered, right? So that bell is sort of like his calling card that he can safely enter without forgetting to say that he's coming in and without anybody accidentally walking in without announcing themselves. But that's just my perspective based on that. And the other thing here also is that Aaron is representing all of the people of Israel, all their iniquities, all the things that they offer, everything that's done. Aaron is now the middleman along with his sons. So it's going to be very much important that they do this. And also the nudity aspect, right? It's very clear that they shall have garments that will cover their nakedness, right? So we once again revisit the idea of being naked in the presence of God, something that as far back as Adam and Eve is a very big issue. So nudity is just a matter of modesty. So being modest means covering up. We go from there. Beyond that, that's pretty much it in a nutshell on why they are covered, and not just Aaron, but his sons and those who will follow. That's their lot in life. With that in mind, they shall be worn by Aaron and by his sons when they enter or when they approach the altar to serve, so they will not bear iniquity and die. So in other words, that's what it's all about. It's about keeping them safe by making sure all these different things allow them to maintain the level of respect that they need to keep. And again, these guys are the middlemen handling all of the holiest of sacraments on behalf of the people of Israel. They carry all the burdens as well as all of the offerings on their shoulders. So it's a very big responsibility. We don't want to risk anything happening. Fourth portion, chapter 29, verse 1. And this is the thing you shall do for them to sanctify them, to serve me as Kohanim. Take 1 young bull and 2 rams, perfect ones, and unleavened bread and unleavened loaves mixed with oil, and unleavened wafers anointed with oil. You shall make them out of fine wheat flour, and you shall place them upon a basket, and you shall bring them in the basket, and the bull and the 2 rams. And you shall bring Aaron and his sons near the entrance of the tent of meeting, and you shall bathe them in water. And you shall take the garments and clothe Aaron with the tunic, with the robe of the ephod, and with the ephod and with the choshen. You shall adorn him with the band of the ephod. You shall place the cap upon his head, and place the holy crown upon the cap. You shall take the anointing oil, and pour it on his head, and anoint him. And you shall bring his sons near, and you shall clothe them with tunics, and you shall gird them with sashes, Aaron and his sons, and you shall dress them with high hats, and the kehunah will be a perpetual statute for them. And you shall invest Aaron and his sons with full authority. You shall bring the bull to the front of the tent of the meeting, and Aaron and his sons shall lean their hands upon the head of the bull. You shall then slaughter the bull before the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And you shall take some of the blood of the bull and apply it on the horns of the altar with your finger, and you shall pour out all the blood upon the base of the altar. You shall then take all the fat of the covers, the innards, and the diaphragm with the liver, also the 2 kidneys and the fat that is upon them, and make them go up in smoke upon the altar. But the flesh of the bull, its hide and its dung, you shall burn in fire outside the camp. It is a sin offering. And you shall take the 1 ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lean their hands upon the ram's head. You shall slaughter the ram, and you shall take its blood and sprinkle it on the altar all around. And you shall dissect the ram into its parts, and you shall wash its innards and its legs, and put them with its parts and with its head. And you shall make the entire ram go up in smoke upon the altar. It is a burnt offering made to the Lord. It is a spirit of satisfaction, a fire offering for the Lord. So here we have the process of how Aaron and his sons are going to be anointed into their new position. Think of it like their commencement ceremony, and it's going to involve unleavened bread, unleavened loaves. So keeping in mind, right, the unleavened bread having to do with Passover, it all ties together here. It shall be made out of fine flour, and they're going to make an animal sacrifice, and there are very specific details. But first, we're going to have the garments that are for them. They're going to be bathed in water, right? Aaron and his sons near the entrance of the tent, you shall bathe them in water. So this is like a mikveh, a ritual bath, to purify them, to clean them. Then you shall take the garments and clothe Aaron with the tunic and the robe, and all the pieces, right? So they're going to adorn him and then also dress the sons. You're going to anoint him with oil, pour it on his head and anoint him. And so then they're going to be covered with the sashes. They're going to wear the hats. Everything is going to be like this for all generations. Then they do the animal sacrifice piece by piece, right? So the blood is frequently used in a lot of sacrifice you've heard of a blood sacrifice before, but in the context of the Kohanim, they are often sacrificing animals in this way. They're taking the blood and pouring it in the basins and so on. And one might wonder, why? Why does this happen exactly? That seems a little barbaric maybe to some, right? What's with all the blood stuff? Well, first off, let's be realistic here. If you eat any kind of meat whatsoever, this is not really all that strange. You're just not the one doing the butchering in most cases. But in this case, the animals will be part of an offering to the Lord. So the parts that are going to be burned, right, certain parts of the organs and things like that, they're going to be burned up in fire, and that's going to be part of the offering. So fire is the way it goes up to the Lord, right? It comes up into smoke. It's destroyed. It ceases having a physical form, and it goes up. Certain parts, like its hide and its dung, burn it in fire outside the camp. It is a sin offering, right? So those pieces for the sin, or maybe it's a sin to offer them. I think we have to be careful about what the actual meaning of it's a sin offering is. I think in the context of you're offering this to compensate for the sins of the people. Take the ram and then sprinkle the blood as well on the altar all around. So once again, the blood and then the dissection of it into different parts. And then you're going to also make all of the ram go up. So the bull had parts of it go up, parts of it outside. All of the ram goes up to the Lord in this offering. And it's a fire offering for the Lord with very specific instructions. Fifth portion, chapter 29, verse 19. And you shall take the second ram, and Aaron and his sons shall lean their hands upon the ram's head. You shall slaughter the ram, take some of its blood, and put it upon the cartilage of Aaron's right ear, and upon the cartilage of Aaron's sons' right ears, upon the thumbs of their right hands, and upon the big toes of their right feet. And you shall sprinkle the blood upon the altar all around. And you shall then take some of the blood that is upon the altar, and some of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it upon Aaron and upon his garments, upon his sons, and upon the garments of his sons with him. Thus he will become holy along with his garments, and his sons and their garments, garments with him. And you shall take out of the ram the fat and the fat tail, and the fat that covers the innards, the diaphragm of the liver, the 2 kidneys along with the fat that is upon them, and the right thigh, for it is a ram of perfection. And 1 loaf of bread, 1 loaf of oil bread, and 1 wafer from the basket of matzah that stand before the Lord. And you shall place it all upon Aaron's palms, and upon his sons' palms, and you shall wave them as a waving before the Lord. You shall then take them from their hands, and make them go up in smoke upon the altar, with the burnt offering as a spirit of satisfaction before the Lord. It is a fire offering for the Lord. And you shall take the breast of the ram of perfection, which is Aaron's, and wave it as a waving before the Lord, and it will become your portion. And you shall sanctify the breast of the waving, and the thigh of the uplifting, which was waved and which was lifted up, of the ram of perfection, of that which is Aaron's, and of that which is his son's. And so it shall remain for Aaron and his sons as a perpetual allotment from the children of Israel, for it is an offering, and it shall remain an offering from the children of Israel of their peace offerings. It is their offering to the Lord. The holy garments that are Aaron's shall be for his sons after him, to be exalted through them and invested with full authority through them. 7 days shall the one of his sons who will be the Kohen in his place wear them, the one who is to enter the tent of meeting to serve in the holy. You shall take the ram of perfection and cook its flesh in a holy place. Aaron and his sons shall eat the flesh of the ram, and the bread that is in the basket at the entrance of the tent of meeting. They shall eat those things with which atonement has been effected, in order to invest them with full authority, to sanctify them. But a stranger shall not eat of them, because they are a sacred thing. If any of the flesh of the perfection offering or of the bread is left over until morning, what is left over you shall burn in fire. It shall not be eaten, because it is a sacred thing. So shall you do to Aaron and his sons, according to all that I have commanded you. For 7 days you shall perform their investiture. And a bull as a sin offering you shall offer up every day for the atonements, and you shall purify the altar by performing the atonement upon it, and you shall anoint it in order to sanctify it. For 7 days you shall perform atonement upon the altar, and sanctify it. Henceforth the altar shall be a holy of holies. Whatever touches the altar will be holy. Okay. So that's quite a bit about the process of finalizing the commencement of Aaron and his sons. So details about more of how the blood is going to be used. Very specific, right? So the blood is going to be placed on the cartilage of his right ear, son's right ears, thumbs of their right hands, big toe of the right foot. So I don't know the significance of that. What can I speculate? Cartilage of the ear. So with your ears, you hear. With your hands, you act, right? And your thumb in particular allows you to perform certain actions, and also your big toe is what allows you to walk with balance. So I think perhaps in this way, with their ear, they are hearing the commandment of the Lord. They're connecting their hearing to the Lord, their thumb to the work of the Lord, and their foot to the service of the Lord. And if we want to go a step further, previously we heard about when a slave becomes permanent for his master, they do a sort of piercing of the ear. Maybe that is symbolic here. Maybe there's a connection. But with all that in mind, I think the significance is the right hand, the right foot, the right ear, the right side of the body, the dominant side of the body. There is a communion of sorts with this blood being made, and the blood is sprinkled also on the altar. So it's a connection. My right hand, my right foot, my right ear become holy instruments to fulfill the commandments of God. That is my interpretation based on the things I've read here. In exchange, Aaron and his sons and all that follow them, they will receive a portion of the offering as their portion. They're going to receive it in exchange for their services. They're going to basically be fed. And this holy portion is only for them. They go through a whole process of waving it around. It's very specific, and one could ask, why are we doing these very specific things? You don't need to know why. The meaning of these specific actions, you can speculate, but what matters is the boss is telling you to do it, you do it. If your boss says, move this box over there, you don't say, why? Your job is to just move the box. So that's what the case, I think, is here. If it's ever something you don't understand when you're hearing about the commandments and commands being given, you don't need to understand. Do you understand the assignment? Are you able to fulfill the task? Great. Then you're good. As long as you understand what you're being told to do, the why of it is not so important. As long as you are following the Lord, they are fulfilling the commandments. So going on from there, as mentioned before, they will receive their portion as their allotment, right? And it comes from the children of Israel who make their sacrifices. And also, no one else is allowed to eat from it. And if it gets left over till morning, it needs to be destroyed. So it really is a sacred thing. Also, anything that comes into contact with the Holy of Holies, the altar, Anything that touches that will become holy also. So the blood that coated them and their clothes became holy through contact. The clothing itself became holy, and that's also why the clothing is going to be through generations. The successors of Aaron will become holy by wearing those garments for a week. It's holiness through osmosis, through exposure, and now they become holy as well. All right, on to the sixth portion, chapter 29, verse 38. And this is what you shall offer upon the altar, lambs in their first year, 2 a day continually. The one lamb you shall offer up in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer up in the afternoon. And the 1/10 of the fine flour, thoroughly mixed with 1/4 of hin of crushed olive oil, and a libation of 1/4 of a hin of wine for the one lamb. And the other lamb you shall offer up in the afternoon. You shall offer it up like the meal offering of the morning, and its libation as a spirit of satisfaction, a fire offering to the Lord. It shall be a continual burnt offering for your generations, at the entrance of the tent of meeting before the Lord, where I will arrange meetings with you to speak with you there. There I will arrange meetings with the children of Israel, and it will be sanctified by my glory. I will sanctify the tent of meeting and the altar, and I will sanctify Aaron and his sons to serve me as Kohanim. I dwell in the midst of the children of Israel, and I will be their God. They will know that I, the Lord, am their God, who brought them out of Egypt, in order that I may dwell in their midst. I am the Lord, their God. Straightforward enough, right? So we just have the basic explanation of this is your day job. You're going to be making these offerings twice a day. You're going to have these particular elements added as well. So you're going to have not just the first yearling lambs twice a day. We're also going to have 1/10 of fine flour mixed with the nice oil and also the wine for the lamb. And it's going to be both the offering of the morning and its libation, a spirit of satisfaction, a fire offering to the Lord. Continual burnt offering for your generations. So it's basically always going to happen, and this is where you're going to meet with the Lord. So the offerings are going to be made, and I'm going to have these meetings. And because of it, all of this is going to be sanctified, because I took you out of Egypt for the purpose of being able to dwell in your midst and glorify you and be around you and have these kinds of conversations. Again, we talked about the ear, the hand, the foot. They can have conversations with the Lord. He will greet them here. That's a pretty powerful thing. It's also a little bit of the tragedy that comes with the destruction of the temple, right? So by removing the temple, you can no longer make these offerings and not have the Kohanim doing their job, which means that is the Lord no longer in the midst of the people? Well, that's for you to think about. Personally, I've always felt that the Lord is everywhere, but it's nice to have locations that are sanctuaries where we try to invite the presence of the Lord as best we can. Today, we use prayer instead of animal sacrifice because without the Kohanim operating inside of the temple, it's just not kosher. So it goes. Seventh and final portion for this week, chapter 30 of Exodus, verse 1. You shall make an altar for bringing incense up in smoke. You shall make it out of acacia wood. It shall be 1 cubit long and 1 cubit wide, a square and 2 cubits high. Its horn shall be 1 piece with it. You shall overlay it with pure gold, its top, its walls all around, and its horns, and you shall make for it a golden crown all around. You shall make 2 golden rings for it underneath its crown on its 2 corners. You shall make them on its 2 sides, so that it should serve as holders for poles with which to carry it. You shall make the poles out of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. And you shall place it in front of the dividing curtain, which is upon the ark of testimony, in front of the ark cover, which is upon the testimony, where I will arrange to meet you. Aaron shall make incense of spices go up and smoke upon it. Every morning when he sets the lamps in order, he shall make it go up and smoke. And when Aaron kindles the lights in the afternoon, he shall make it go up and smoke. Continual incense before the Lord for your generations. You shall offer it up no alien incense, burnt offering, or meal offering, and you shall pour no libation upon it. But Aaron shall make atonement upon its horns once a year with the blood of the sin offering of the atonements. Once a year he shall effect atonement upon it for your generations. It is a holy of holies to the Lord. So here we're hearing about the incense portion, the fire offering that Aaron will make in the mornings, and it is something that only Aaron may do, only when he is specifically assigned to do so. You shall not offer up a foreign fire, an alien incense, no burnt offerings or meal offerings, no libations upon it. Very specific. Aaron's been told what you're going to do, where it's going to go, all the details. And once a year, Aaron's going to do this, and it's going to have the full-blown atonement process for the people as a whole. This is a reference, I believe, to Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. So there we have it, a full-on acknowledgement of Yom Kippur. Also, the significance of do not make alien incense, burnt offerings, etc., that will be extremely relevant later on in regards to Aaron and his sons. So keep that in mind for the future. If you don't know, you will know. In any case, back up from the top, that is everything for this week's weekly Torah portion, Tetzaveh, aka command. And of course, starting from the beginning, continually lighting the lamps all the way down to how Aaron and his sons are going to make their offerings through the years, through the generations on behalf of the people. And it talks about here at the very end, I do want to say this, I mentioned before, it's sad because we don't have these things that we can have to, fulfill these commands. There's no way to do it. But it does say through generations, right? So even if it's not able to be done now, maybe, just maybe, through the glory and mercy of the Lord, that these commandments, he shall effect atonement upon it for your generations. So maybe we can be hopeful that it's implied that he's going to do it every generation, Aaron and then whoever follows him, but also the fact that he did so, maybe we are grandfathered and we've received generationally this atonement, and it's been passed on through the generations. So that's of course, wishful thinking, but nonetheless, it is what we've got for this week. Thank you so much for listening. As always, hope you found it meaningful, educational, and inspirational. It's very interesting to hear what the holy priests were like in the old days of the people of Israel. I think it's very easy. If you've ever seen fantasy shows or been to places that still have high priests of some kind, you see very similar descriptions of what their outfits look like, whether it's churches or temples for Buddhists and things like that. There are a lot of very interesting garments that are made for holy peoples, right? Men of the cloth, as they're called. But as we can see here, the same was very true among the people of Israel, and it seems the color blue. It's understandable why blue is such a recurring color in the Jewish people and beyond. It's a very significant color, not just among the holiest of men, but also even on things like the fringes, right? There's supposed to be a blue thread. So a lot to say about that. In any case, thanks for listening once again. This has been Shmuel Moshe with the Weekly Parashahcast. Hope to see you next time. Hope you'll tune in. Until then, Baruch Hashem.